Everyone at Belmont International knew one thing about Clara Whitmore. She was terrifying. Not because she shouted, not because she was cruel. Actually, Clara Whitmore rarely raised her voice. That was what made her frightening. She could walk into a conference room, read a 50-page report in 10 minutes, and find problems nobody else noticed. She was the youngest CEO in Belmont International's history. Beautiful, brilliant, impossible to approach. People called her the Ice Queen. My name was Adrian Cole. I had worked at Belmont International for 4 years. I was a senior strategy manager. And unfortunately, I was probably the employee who received the most lectures from Clara. Not because I was bad at my job. Actually, my results were excellent. The problem was that I had one habit Clara hated. I worked too hard. That Friday night, I stayed late to finish a project. Again. When I finally submitted the report, it was almost midnight. I thought I could leave quietly. I was wrong. The moment I stepped out of the office, I saw Clara standing near the elevator. My heart immediately sank. Ms. Whitmore. She looked at me. Adrian, that tone. I knew that tone. Something was coming. What time is it? I glanced at my watch. 11:58. And when did you arrive this morning? I hesitated. 8. So, you worked almost 16 hours. I smiled awkwardly. The project was important. Clara crossed her arms. That is not an answer. I knew what was coming. The lecture. You skipped lunch. I had coffee. That is not lunch. You had dinner. I was going to. Were you? Yes. When? I became quiet because I had no answer. Clara sighed, then walked back toward her office. Come in. I froze now. Yes. Why? Because apparently nobody else is willing to tell you when you are making terrible decisions. I followed her, and that was my mistake. Because the lecture lasted 2 hours. 2 full hours. Clara sat behind her desk. You think working harder solves everything. I listened. It does not. You think if you carry every responsibility yourself, people will respect you. Another page. Wrong. You think exhaustion proves dedication? She looked at me. It proves you are exhausted. I tried not to smile because even when Clara was angry, she was somehow caring. Are you smiling? I immediately stopped. No, you are a little. Why? Because you sound worried. I am. The answer came so quickly that I froze. Clara seemed to realize what she said. She looked away. She corrected herself. You are an important employee. I smiled. Important employee? Yes, that is all. She looked at me. Adrian, yes. Do not test my patience. I laughed quietly, and somehow that made her even more annoyed. You think this is funny? No, you do a little. Clara sighed. You are impossible. But she did not stop. She continued talking about health, about balance, about not destroying myself for work. And the strange thing was, I listened because Clara Whitmore was the only person who noticed. Everyone else saw my results. She saw me at 2 a.m. She finally finished. I stood up. Thank you for the lecture. She looked surprised. You are thanking me? Yes. Why? Because nobody else cares enough to spend 2 hours telling me I am an idiot. For the first time, Clara almost smiled. Almost. You are unbelievable. I hear that often. I believe it. I walked toward the door, then stopped. I do not know why. Maybe because it was late. Maybe because I was tired. Maybe because Clara was standing there looking less like the Ice Queen CEO and more like a woman who was genuinely worried about me. So, I said it quietly, almost as a joke. Someday, Clara looked up. What? I smiled. I'll marry you. Silence. The room became completely quiet. I immediately regretted it because what kind of employee says that to his CEO? I started. It was just, but Clara interrupted. Someday I stopped. She looked at me and something impossible happened. The Ice Queen CEO blushed. Actually blushed. Clara. She looked away. You said someday. I had no idea what to say. Yes. She stepped closer. Why? Wait. I froze. What? Her face was still slightly red, but her voice was calm. The same confidence she used in board meetings. Marry me now. For several seconds, I wondered if I had misunderstood. Miss Whitmore. Yes. Did you just tell me to marry you? Yes. Now. Yes. Tonight? She looked at the clock. It is technically tomorrow. I stared at her because this was impossible. The woman who rejected every dating rumor. The woman who controlled a company worth billions. The woman who spent 2 hours lecturing me about taking care of myself was asking me to marry her. Why? I finally asked. Clara looked at me and her answer changed everything. Because I have spent years telling everyone else what they should do. A pause. But I never told myself what I wanted. She looked directly at me and I want you. I forgot how to breathe. The next morning, everyone at Belmont International received shocking news. Not about a merger, not about a new project, not about company expansion. The headline on the internal announcement was CEO Clara Whitmore announces her marriage. And nobody believed it because nobody knew the Ice Queen CEO had spent 2 hours lecturing one employee only to hear him whisper, "I'll marry you someday." And reply, "Marry me now." The next morning, I thought yesterday was a dream. A very strange dream because there was no way Clara Whitmore, the CEO of Belmont International, actually looked at me and said, "Marry me now." But then I arrived at the office and reality hit me. The moment I stepped into the lobby, I knew something had changed. People were whispering. Employees were looking at their phones. Some were pretending not to stare at me. They failed. My coworker Ryan walked toward me. The moment he saw me, his eyes widened. "Adrian." I sighed. "What? Tell me this is fake." I stopped. "What is?" He showed me his phone. The company announcement. CEO Clara Whitmore announces engagement. I stared at the screen. Engagement. That was not what happened. At least not exactly. Ryan. Yes. Who wrote this? Corporate communications. Why? He looked confused. Because your CEO announced it. I froze. My CEO? Yes. Before I could explain anything, my phone vibrated. A message from Clara. "Clara, come to my office." I stared at the message. Ryan looked at me. "She called you." "Yes." After yesterday, I looked at him. "You know about yesterday?" He smiled. "Everyone knows." I immediately regretted existing. When I entered Clara's office, she was already working. Of course, she was. The woman who asked someone to marry her at 2 a.m. was now calmly reviewing business documents at 9 a.m. "Sit." I sat. She continued reading. I waited 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 1 minute. Finally, I spoke. "Clara, yes. Can we talk about the announcement?" She looked up. "Yes. Because I think there is a misunderstanding." "No." I blinked. "No. No misunderstanding." I stared. "You really announced it?" "Yes." "Why?" She looked surprised. "Because you proposed." I almost fell out of my chair. "I proposed." "Yes, Clara." "Yes, I said someday." She nodded. "Yes. That is not a proposal." It was enough. I did not know whether to laugh or panic. "You accepted a joke." Clara leaned back. "No, that I accepted your feelings." That answer silenced me because she was not joking. "Clara, yes, you are my CEO. I know this is a huge decision." "Yes." "You barely slept." "Yes." "And you decided to announce a marriage." "Yes." I stared. "You are unbelievable." She nodded. "I have heard that." I smiled. "You are not even denying it." "No." "Why?" "Because it is true." That was Clara. Always direct. Always honest. I looked at her. "Why me?" The question finally came out. Not because I doubted her. Because I needed to understand. Clara became quiet. Then she stood and walked toward the window. "You want to know why?" "Yes." She looked at the city below. "Because you are the only person in this company who never tried to impress me." I frowned. "I work hard." "Yes." "I respect you." "Yes." "But you never treated me like a CEO." I remembered my first month at Belmont. Everyone carefully chose their words around Clara. I did not. Not because I was fearless, because I noticed something. She was always alone. You remember the first time we met? Clara asked. Yes. What did you say? I smiled. You looked tired. She nodded. Exactly. I laughed. That was 4 years ago. Yes. And you remember? Yes. Why? She looked at me. Because nobody had said that before. I became quiet. Everyone saw my success. She continued. My title, my achievements, but you saw something else. What me? The room became silent. I looked away because somehow the Ice Queen CEO was making me nervous. So, what happens now? I asked. Clara returned to her desk now. Yes, we get married. I almost laughed. You say that like we are scheduling a meeting. She thought about it. Would you prefer a calendar invitation? I stared then laughed for the first time. Clara smiled. A real smile. You are joking. Yes, you actually joke sometimes. Nobody knows that. Now you do. That small moment felt strange because I realized something. The world knew Clara Whitmore as a perfect CEO. But I was slowly discovering the person behind that image. Later that afternoon, something unexpected happened. The board requested a meeting with both of us. When I entered the conference room, several executives were already there. Their expressions were serious. The chairman looked at Clara. Are you certain? Yes. About this marriage? Yes. Even considering your position? Yes. Then he looked at me, Mr. Cole. Yes. You understand the attention this will bring? Yes. You understand your life will change? Yes. I glanced at Clara. She was calm, but I noticed something. Her hand was slightly tense. She was nervous. I quietly reached over and held her hand only for a second, but enough. Her expression changed just slightly. The chairman noticed, then smiled. I think we have our answer. After the meeting, Clara and I walked back. You were nervous. She looked at me. No, I smiled. Liar. She stopped then admitted a little. I laughed. The Ice Queen CEO was nervous. Yes. Why? She looked at me. Because this was not a business decision. That sentence stayed with me. Because Clara could control companies. She could negotiate billion-dollar deals. She could make impossible choices. But this was personal. That evening, she sent me a message. Clara, dinner tonight. Adrian, another lecture. A few seconds later, Clara. No, Adrian. Then Clara, our first date. I looked at the message and smiled because somehow the woman who spent 2 hours telling me to take better care of myself was now teaching me something else. How it felt to be chosen. I had attended hundreds of business dinners. I knew how to talk with investors. I knew how to negotiate with clients. I knew how to sit across from powerful people without feeling nervous. But sitting across from Clara Whitmore at a small restaurant was completely different because tonight she was not my CEO. She was my future wife. At least that was what everyone at Belmont International believed. The restaurant was quiet. Not the kind of place where executives held meetings. No private rooms, no expensive decorations. Just warm lights, simple food, and people laughing around us. I looked around. Clara. She looked up. Yes. You chose this place. Yes. Why? She picked up her glass. Because it is normal. I smiled. The CEO of Belmont International wants a normal dinner. Yes. That is unexpected. She looked at me. Why? Because I thought you would choose somewhere with a 10-course meal and a view of the city. She shook her head. No. 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 Why? She answered simply. Because I want to know what it feels like to have a normal date. That sentence surprised me because Clara Whitmore had everything people wanted. Money, status, success. But somehow a normal evening was something rare to her. The waiter came over. Are you ready to order? Clara looked at the menu then at me. What do you recommend? I froze. You are asking me? Yes. You usually make decisions in 3 seconds. Yes. But now she looked at the menu again. Now I want your opinion. That small thing affected me more than I expected because Clara was not asking because she needed help. She was asking because she valued my choice. After dinner, we walked outside. The city lights reflected on the street. For a while, neither of us spoke. It felt strange but comfortable. Adrian. Yes. Do you regret it? I looked at her. What? Yesterday. She stopped walking. The marriage. I was surprised. Why would I regret it? Because it happened quickly. That is true. You did not expect it. That is also true. Then I smiled. But I do not regret it. Clara looked at me. Why? I thought about it. Because I trust you. That answer seemed to surprise her. Trust? Yes. Why? Because even before this, I looked at her. You always cared. I remembered all those moments. The time she noticed I was tired. The time she helped my team. The time she stayed late because nobody else wanted to. You think nobody sees you? I said. She became quiet. What? You act like everyone only sees your title? A pause. But I saw you for a moment. Clara Whitmore looked completely speechless. That was rare. Very rare. Adrian, yes. You really do that often. Do what? Say things that make it difficult for me to respond. I laughed. Is that a complaint? No. Then she smiled slightly. I like it. The Ice Queen CEO smiled. Actually smiled. And nobody else in the city would have believed it. The next morning, something unexpected happened. I arrived at work and found a package on my desk. No name, no explanation. I opened it. Inside was a watch. A simple, elegant watch and a note. You always forget time when you work. Now you have a reminder. Clara. I stared at it then smiled. Jason walked past, immediately stopped again. I looked up. What? He pointed at the watch. Another gift. No. Then my fiancée. He froze. You're what? I laughed. Within seconds. Mia appeared. Did he just say fiancée? I sighed. Yes. The entire department suddenly became interested. Jason looked at me. How? I smiled. Long story. Give me the short version. I thought about it. Then said, I told my CEO I would marry her someday. And she told me to marry her now. Nobody spoke. Then Jason said, that is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard. I nodded. I know. But also he looked toward Clara's office. Kind of romantic. I could not disagree. Later that afternoon, Clara called me. When I entered her office, she was reviewing documents. You gave me a watch. She looked up. Yes. Why? Because you need it. That is the same answer you always give. Yes. I smiled. But there is another reason. She became quiet. I held up the watch. You wanted me to remember something. Yes. What? She looked at me. That someone cares about your time. I froze because that was not about the watch. It was about everything. You always spend your time on others. She continued, your team, the company, problems. A pause. But who spends time on you? I had no answer. Clara stepped closer. I want to. For the first time, I understood. The lectures, the coffee, the concern, the marriage proposal, they were never random. They were all Clara's way of saying something she did not know how to say. That evening, I received another message. Clara, tomorrow, I want to show you something. Adrian, what? Clara, my world. I stared at the message. Because I suddenly realized I knew Clara Whitmore, the CEO. But I was about to meet Clara Whitmore, the woman. And I had a feeling that would be the most surprising part. The next day, Clara picked me up herself, not with a driver. Not with a company car, with the same black sedan she usually used for business meetings. But when I opened the door, she was not sitting in the back reviewing documents. She was driving. I stopped beside the car. You are driving? Clara looked at me. Yes. I smiled. I thought CEOs always had drivers. They do. Then why are you driving? She looked ahead. Because today is not a business trip. I got into the passenger seat. For some reason, this felt stranger than the Ferrari. Maybe because the Ferrari was dramatic. This was normal. And normal was something Clara was still learning. Where are we going? I asked. My home? I turned to her. Your home? Yes. Why? You said you wanted to know my world. She glanced at me. So I will show you. I expected something huge, a mansion, a private estate, something that matched Clara Whitmore's status. But when we arrived, I was surprised. It was a quiet neighborhood outside the city. Beautiful, peaceful, but not flashy. The house was large but simple. Warm lights, a small garden, no guards, no luxury cars, no feeling of distance. This is your house? I asked. Yes. I looked around. I expected something different. Clara raised an eyebrow. What? I do not know. I smiled. Something more like a CEO. She looked at the house, then said, "This is the only place where I am not one." That sentence stayed with me. Inside, everything was different from her office. At Belmont International, everything was perfect, organized, controlled. Here, there were books on the table, photos on the shelves, a blanket on the sofa, small signs of life. I looked at a picture. It was Clara, but younger. She was standing beside an older woman. Your mother? Clara nodded. Yes, she looks kind. She was. The answer was quiet. I noticed her expression change. Sorry, it is okay. She touched the photo. She taught me something important. What? That being strong does not mean never needing anyone. I looked at her. Because that sounded like something she had forgotten. Did you forget? I asked. She looked confused. What? What your mother taught you? Silence. Then Clara smiled slightly. Maybe. We walked through the house. She showed me the places that mattered. The old bookshelf. The kitchen where she learned cooking. The small garden her mother planted. Things nobody at the company knew. You really never show this side. I said, no, why? She thought for a moment. Because once people know your weakness, she stopped. I waited. Sometimes they use it. I understood. Clara Whitmore built walls for a reason. But you showed me. Yes. Why? She looked at me. Because I trust you. That answer felt heavier than any expensive gift. Later, we sat in the garden for a while. Neither of us spoke. Then Clara said, Adrian, yes. Do you know what everyone thinks about me? I smiled. That you are scary. She nodded. Anything else? That you never make mistakes? She laughed softly. People actually think that? Yes, that is funny. Why? Because I make mistakes all the time. I looked at her. You? Yes. What kind? She thought. I do not know how to rest. A pause. I do not know how to ask for help. Another pause. And I do not know how to tell someone I like them without making a sudden marriage proposal. I laughed. She actually smiled. You admit that was sudden. Yes. Very sudden. Yes. Crazy. Yes. I laughed harder. But you did it anyway. Yes. Why? She looked at me. Because I was tired of waiting. The answer became quiet between us. Tired of waiting for what? I asked. For someone to see me. I looked at her. You know what is funny? What? I think you spent years trying to prove you were strong. Yes, but you were already strong. She looked at me. The thing you needed, I smiled. Was someone who would tell you that you did not have to be strong all the time? Clara looked away. And for a moment, I saw the same woman from that 2-hour lecture. The woman who worried about me. The woman who noticed everything. That evening before leaving, Clara stopped me at the door. Adrian. Yes. She handed me something. A key. I stared. What is this? My house key. I looked at her. Clara. Yes. This is a big step. I know. Why give it to me? She answered. Because I do not want you to feel like a guest. I looked at the key, then at her. You are serious about this? Yes. About us? Yes. The Ice Queen CEO, the woman who controlled an entire company, was giving me a key to the one place where she was not a CEO. Her home, her real self. That night, I returned to my apartment. My phone received a message from Clara. Clara, did you arrive safely? I smiled. Adrian, yes. A few seconds later, Clara, good. I laughed. Adrian, there it is again. Clara, what? Adrian, good. A moment later, she replied, Clara, maybe I say it because I like knowing you are okay. I stared at the message because that was Clara. She never said unnecessary things. Every word mattered. The next morning, something unexpected happened. A major shareholder requested a meeting. The reason? My relationship with Clara. And this time the problem was no longer a rumor. It was a challenge. A challenge that could affect both of us. The shareholder meeting was scheduled for Monday morning. And everyone at Belmont International knew exactly why. It was not about profits, not about expansion, not about company strategy. It was about me. When I entered the conference room, several executives were already there. Their expressions were serious. Clara sat at the head of the table. Calm, professional, the same CEO everyone knew. But I noticed something. Her hand was slightly tight around her pen. A small movement, almost impossible to notice, but I noticed Clara. She looked at me. Yes, you are nervous. Her eyes narrowed slightly. No, I smiled. Liar. For a second, the Ice Queen CEO disappeared. And I saw the woman who blushed when I joked about marriage. I am not nervous. You are holding your pen too tightly. She looked down then slowly relaxed her hand. I dislike that you notice everything. I smiled. Interesting. What you say that like it is a bad thing. She looked at me then quietly said it is not. The meeting began. The chairman of the board, Richard Coleman, opened the discussion. Clara, yes, we need to discuss recent developments. I understand your engagement with Mr. Cole has attracted attention. I expected Clara to respond immediately, but she did not. She let him finish. The concern is not personal, Richard continued. The concern is whether personal feelings affect business decisions. Clara finally spoke. My decisions are based on performance. I know. Then there should be no issue. Richard looked at the documents. Some shareholders believe Mr. Cole received special treatment. The room became quiet. Before Clara answered, I spoke. That is incorrect. Everyone looked at me. I continued. My promotion was based on the results of my department. The numbers are available. I did not receive my position because of my relationship with Clara. Richard looked at me. You are confident. Yes. Why? I answered honestly. Because I know my work. Clara looked at me and I saw something. Pride, not CEO pride. Personal pride. Richard turned back to Clara. Your response. Clara stood. Belmont International has always rewarded ability. She placed a report on the table. Marcus' team increased efficiency by 30%. They solved the biggest development issue this company faced last year. They created measurable value. She looked around the room. If anyone believes his achievements are because of me, applause. Then they are questioning the company's own evaluation system. Nobody spoke because Clara was not defending me emotionally. She was defending the truth. After the meeting ended, I followed her to her office. You did not have to do that. She looked at me. Do what? Defend me? She seemed surprised. Of course I did. Why? Because you were right. That is all. Yes. I laughed. You really make everything sound simple. She looked confused. Is it not? I smiled. For you, maybe. She sat down, then quietly said. Adrian. Yes. Do you think I regret it? Regret what? Choosing you. I froze. Because that was not a question I expected. No. I answered immediately. Why? Because I know you. She looked at me. You do not make decisions without thinking. I continued. You spent 4 years watching before you acted. You thought about everyone else. You thought about consequences. I smiled. So if you chose me, I know it was not a mistake. For a moment, Clara said nothing. Then thank you. That evening, something unexpected happened. Clara asked me to attend a company charity event. Not as an employee, as her guest. When we arrived, everyone noticed. Of course, they did. The CEO of Belmont International walked into the event holding my arm. People whispered, but Clara did not let go. You are comfortable with this? I asked quietly. She looked at me. Yes. Really? Yes. Why? She smiled slightly. Because hiding you would mean I am ashamed. I looked at her. And are you? No. The answer was immediate. Inside the event hall, several executives greeted us. Some were surprised, some were curious, but Clara remained calm. Then something unexpected happened. An old business partner approached. Clara. She smiled politely. Mr. Hayes. He looked at me. So this is the person who made our ice queen change. I almost laughed. Clara looked serious. I did not change. Mr. Hayes smiled. Oh no. She looked at me. I became more myself. That sentence surprised me. Later that night, after the event ended, we stood outside. The city was quiet. Clara, yes. Do you know something? What? You are very different from the rumors. She smiled. Are you disappointed? No. Why? I looked at her. Because I like the real version. She became quiet, then asked, Adrian? Yes. Do you know when I first realized I liked you? I shook my head. When? She looked at the city. During that lecture? I laughed. The 2-hour lecture? Yes, you realized it while scolding me. Yes. That makes no sense. It does. Why? She smiled. Because you were the only person who listened. I stopped laughing. Everyone listens to my orders. She continued, but you listened because you cared. That was Clara's truth. She did not fall for someone who admired her power. She fell for someone who cared about her heart. Before we left, my phone suddenly rang. It was Ryan. His voice sounded urgent. Adrian, what happened? You need to see the news. I frowned. What news? A few seconds later, he sent me a link. The headline appeared. Belmont CEO Clara Whitmore faces board challenge after sudden engagement. I looked at Clara. Her expression changed. Is this serious? She nodded. Yes. How serious? A pause. Then she answered, serious enough that they may ask me to choose. Choose what? She looked at me, and for the first time I saw fear in her eyes. Between my position, a pause, and you, for the first time since I knew Clara Whitmore, I saw hesitation in her eyes. Not during a negotiation. Not during a crisis, not when facing angry investors, only when the choice involved me. Clara, she looked away. Adrian, are you really thinking about giving up your position? She did not answer immediately. And that silence told me everything. The next morning, Belmont International felt different. The rumors had spread. Employees whispered in hallways. Executives held private conversations. Everyone wanted to know what Clara would do. But Clara acted like nothing happened. She arrived at 8, reviewed reports, attended meetings, answered questions. The perfect CEO. Except I knew her. I noticed the small things. She drank less coffee. She stayed silent longer. She looked at the same document several times without reading it. At noon, I found her alone in her office. You are avoiding me. She looked up. No. I smiled. Another lie. Clara sighed. You are becoming too confident. Because I know you. She looked at me, then quietly said. That is exactly why this is difficult. I sat across from her. Tell me. She looked at the window. The board believes my personal relationship creates risk. Because of me. No. She immediately corrected me, because they think I cannot separate feelings from decisions. I understood. Because that was the opposite of who Clara had always been. She built her reputation on being logical, perfectly controlled, never emotional. And what do you think? I asked. She was silent. Finally, I think they are wrong. I smiled. Then problem solved. She looked at me. No. Why? Because being right does not mean it is easy. That answer surprised me. Because Clara Whitmore had always looked like someone who could ignore anything. But maybe she could not ignore losing something important. Clara. Yes. If they forced you to choose, she looked at me. Would you choose me? The question hung in the air for several seconds. Then she answered. Yes. I froze. You would? Yes. Even if you lost Belmont? Yes. I stared at her. Because I knew what that company meant. It was her life's work. Clara. Yes. You cannot say that. Why? Because this company means everything to you. She shook her head. No. I looked at her. Belmont was my dream, she said. But it was never my entire life. A pause. You taught me that. I was surprised. Me? Yes. How? She smiled slightly. You asked me why I never rested. I remembered. The night she lectured me. The night everything started. You made me realize something. She continued, I spent years building a company where people could have better lives. But I forgot to build a life for myself. I became quiet. That was the woman behind the CEO title. Someone who had spent years creating success but never stopped to enjoy it. Clara, yes, you do not have to choose. She looked at me. What? You can keep your company and then keep me. She looked uncertain. The board may not accept that. Then prove them wrong. A small smile appeared. How? I smiled. By doing what you always do. What? Show them the results. She looked at me and I saw something return. Confidence. The next day, Clara called an emergency board meeting. Everyone expected a resignation. Everyone expected a dramatic decision. Nobody expected what happened. Clara walked into the conference room calm, confident. The Ice Queen CEO returned. I understand the concerns. She placed several documents on the table. But I believe the question is wrong. The board members looked at her. The question should not be whether I have a personal life. The question should be whether I can continue leading this company. She opened the report. During the last quarter, revenue increased. Employee retention improved. New projects exceeded expectations. She looked around. My relationship has not weakened my leadership. A pause. It has made me understand leadership better. The room was silent. One board member asked, and Mr. Cole? Everyone looked at me. Clara answered, Mr. Cole will continue his position based on performance. The board member nodded. And if employees believe there is unfair treatment, Clara replied immediately, then create stronger evaluation systems. No hesitation, no fear, because Clara was not protecting herself. She was protecting what was right. After the meeting, the decision was made. No resignation, no removal, no separation. The board accepted the relationship. When I walked out with Clara, I smiled. You won. She shook her head. No, no. She looked at me. We won. I laughed. You really like saying things like that. Like what? Making everything sound simple. She smiled. Maybe it is. That evening, Clara came to my apartment. Not for dinner, not for business, just because. She stood at my door. I smiled. You are becoming a regular visitor. Yes. Does the CEO of Belmont have free time now? No. Then she looked at me. I make time. That answer meant more than anything. We sat on the balcony. The city lights stretched below. Adrian. Yes. Do you remember what you said? What? I'll marry you someday. I laughed. Yes. She smiled. You had no idea what would happen. No, neither did I. She looked at me. But I am glad you said it. Why? Because if you had not, she paused. I might have continued pretending I did not want this. I reached for her hand. You do not have to pretend anymore. She smiled. No, a pause. Neither do you. The next morning, something unexpected happened. A new company announcement appeared. Not from the board, from Clara herself. Belmont International CEO Clara Whitmore announces wedding plans. And underneath it, one sentence. The person who spent 2 hours telling me to take care of myself is now the person I want to spend my life with. Everyone in the company was shocked. Everyone except me because I knew the truth. The Ice Queen CEO never needed someone to save her. She only needed someone who reminded her she deserved to be loved. The announcement changed everything. Not because people were shocked that Clara Whitmore was getting married, although they were very shocked. The real surprise was something else. Nobody expected the Ice Queen CEO to look happy. For years, employees at Belmont International had seen Clara as someone impossible to reach. She was always calm, always professional, always in control. But after the announcement, people started noticing small changes. She smiled more. She talked more. She even started joining company lunches occasionally. Jason once watched her walk past my desk and nearly dropped his coffee. Adrian. I looked up. What? Something is wrong. I frowned. What happened? He pointed toward Clara's office. Your CEO smiled at an employee. I stared. Is that unusual? Yes. Why? Because that employee was not you. I laughed. You are ridiculous. No, he looked serious. The Ice Queen is changing. But I knew the truth. She was not changing. She was simply finally showing people who she had always been. A month after the announcement, Clara started planning the wedding. And that was when I discovered something surprising. The CEO who could negotiate billion-dollar contracts was terrible at wedding decisions. Clara. Yes. Why are there 12 different flower samples on the table? She looked at them. Seriously, I am comparing 12. Yes. Do you know most people choose one? She looked at me. I am aware. Then why 12? Because each one creates a different atmosphere. I smiled. You are analyzing flowers like a business strategy. She nodded. Is that bad? No. Good. I laughed. You really love that word. She ignored my comment. Adrian, yes. What kind of wedding do you want? The question surprised me. Me? Yes. You are asking me? Yes. But this is your wedding? She immediately corrected me. Our wedding? That simple correction made me smile. Our wedding? Yes. Not your event? No. Not a CEO ceremony? No. She looked at me. It is ours. That was Clara. The woman who controlled everything was learning how to share. A few days later, I discovered something else. Clara had invited only a small number of guests. No celebrities, no unnecessary business partners, no investors. Just family, friends, people who mattered. You could invite hundreds of people. I said, yes, why did you not? She looked at the guest list. Because I do not want people attending because I am Clara Whitmore. She looked at me. I want them there because they know us. That answer stayed with me. The night before the wedding, Clara called me. Can you come over? I smiled. Another lecture. No. Another surprise. No. Then a pause. I am nervous. I stopped because Clara Whitmore admitting nervousness was rare. I will be there. When I arrived, she was standing in her garden. No suit, no CEO image, just a simple dress. You look worried, I said. She nodded a little. About tomorrow? Yes. Why? She looked at the flowers. Because tomorrow is the first time everyone will see me choose something personal. I smiled. Clara. Yes. You chose me before. Yes. So what is different? She looked at me. Tomorrow I say it publicly. I understood. For years, Clara had hidden behind professionalism. Tomorrow, she would stop hiding. Are you afraid? I asked, she thought. Yes, I smiled. The Ice Queen is afraid. Yes. Of what? She answered. Of being happier than I ever imagined. I did not know what to say. Because that was not fear of losing. That was fear of finally having something precious. The next day, the wedding arrived. The ceremony was small, beautiful, simple, exactly what Clara wanted. When she walked toward me, everyone watched, not because she was the CEO, because she was a woman walking toward the person she loved. When she reached me, she smiled. A real smile. The person who spent 2 hours lecturing me about taking care of myself was now standing in front of everyone, choosing me. During the vows, Clara held my hand. I spent years believing strength meant never depending on anyone. She looked at me. I was wrong. The guests became quiet. Strength is knowing someone can stand beside you. Strength is trusting someone with your heart. She smiled. And strength is admitting when someone makes your life better. I looked at her. The Ice Queen CEO, my wife. After the ceremony, Jason came over. He shook his head. I still cannot believe this. I laughed. What? You told your CEO you would marry her someday? Yes. And she actually made it happen. Yes. He sighed. That is either the luckiest thing ever or the most dangerous joke in history. I laughed. That night after everyone left, Clara and I stood outside our new home. Not her house, not my apartment, ours. She looked at the building. It feels strange. What? Having something that belongs to both of us. I smiled. You have built companies. Yes. You have bought properties. Yes. But she looked at me. This feels different. I held her hand. Why? She smiled. Because I did not earn it. I was surprised. What? I did not achieve it. A pause. I simply received it. I understood. For someone like Clara, accepting love was harder than achieving success. She leaned against me. Adrian. Yes. Do you regret saying it? What? That you would marry me someday? I smiled. No. Why? Because you answered faster than I expected. She laughed softly. And that was still one of my favorite sounds. But our story was not over. Because after the wedding, something happened that nobody expected. The company discovered a secret. Not a scandal, not a problem. Something else. A document from 4 years ago. A document that showed Clara Whitmore had noticed me long before I noticed her. And when I saw what was written inside, I finally understood. The Ice Queen CEO did not fall for me suddenly. She had been choosing me for years. A week after the wedding, I found the document. It was hidden inside an old folder in Clara's home office. I was looking for a warranty paper for the coffee machine. Instead, I found something completely unexpected. A company evaluation report 4 years old. My name was on it. I frowned. Why would Clara keep my old work evaluation? Curious, I opened it. The first page was normal. Performance review. Project results. Team feedback. Nothing unusual until I reached the last section. Additional comments from CEO Clara Whitmore. I froze because CEOs did not usually write personal comments on employee evaluations. I read the first line. Adrian Cole demonstrates a rare ability to recognize problems before they become visible. I smiled. That sounded like Clara, professional, precise. Then I continued. However, his greatest strength is not his intelligence. I stopped. The reason I value his work is because he always notices people. I became quiet. There was more. Many employees treat this company as a place to advance their careers. Adrian treats it as a place where people should be supported. I stared at the words because I remembered that year. I remembered helping a new employee who was struggling. I remembered staying late to fix a mistake that was not mine. I remembered thinking nobody noticed. I was wrong. At the bottom of the page was one final sentence. I hope someday he realizes that someone notices him too. I stopped reading because suddenly I understood the Ferrari, the dinner, the lectures, the marriage proposal. They were not random moments. Clara had been paying attention for years. That evening I found her in the garden. She was reading a book. I held up the document. Clara? She looked up. Yes. Why did you keep this? Her expression changed. She immediately knew what I found. You read it. I nodded. Yes. For a moment, the confident CEO disappeared. She looked almost embarrassed. I forgot it was there. I smiled. You forgot? Yes. That is hard to believe. Why? Because you remember everything. She looked away. Not everything. I walked closer. This was 4 years ago. Yes. You already noticed me. Silence. Why did you never say anything? Clara looked at the flowers. Because I was your CEO. You said that before. Yes. And she sighed. And because I was afraid. That surprised me. Afraid? Yes. I had heard Clara talk about competitors, investors, difficult negotiations. She was never afraid. What were you afraid of? She answered quietly that you would think my feelings were unfair. I froze. You were afraid of me thinking that? Yes. Why? Because I did not want you to wonder whether your achievements were because of me. That was Clara. Even when she loved someone, she worried about being fair. You know what I think? She looked at me. What? I think you were the one protecting me. She smiled slightly. Maybe. I sat beside her. You spent years protecting everyone else. Yes. But who protected you? She looked at me. The answer was obvious. You, she whispered. For a moment, neither of us spoke. A few months later, things changed at Belmont International. Not because Clara stepped away, not because she became someone different, because she became better. Employees noticed. She still expected excellence, still challenged everyone, still made difficult decisions. But now people saw the person behind the title. One day, a young employee asked Clara, "Miss Whitmore, can I ask something?" "Yes." "Is it true you almost never smiled before?" Everyone nearby became interested. Clara looked at me, then answered, "Yes." The employee laughed. "What changed?" Clara smiled and said, "I met someone who reminded me I was allowed to." Everyone looked at me. I immediately felt embarrassed. Later, I asked, "You really said that?" "Yes." "In front of everyone?" "Yes." "Why?" She looked confused. "Because it is true." I laughed. "You are becoming less like the Ice Queen." She shook her head. "No. No. I am still the Ice Queen." I smiled. "Really?" "Yes." "Then why are you smiling?" She looked at me. "Because I am the Ice Queen who has a husband." I laughed. Years later, people still told the story. The story of Clara Whitmore. The impossible CEO. The woman who seemed to have everything. But they always remembered one strange detail. A tired employee stayed late one night. His CEO found him working. She lectured him for 2 hours. And after listening to her worry about him, he joked, "I'll marry you someday." Nobody expected what happened next. The Ice Queen CEO blushed and answered, "Marry me now." People thought that was the beginning. They were wrong. It was not the beginning. It was simply the moment Clara finally stopped hiding what had already been there. She had noticed me. She had believed in me. She had chosen me long before I realized it. And I learned something important. The strongest people are not the ones who never need anyone. They are the ones brave enough to let someone in. Clara Whitmore built an empire. She changed a company. She became one of the most respected CEOs in the world. But the thing she was proudest of was not a business achievement, not an award, not a record. It was a simple choice. Choosing love, choosing happiness, choosing us. And every time she reminds me to rest, every time she prepares dinner, every time she looks at me and says, "Take care of yourself." I remember that night, the 2-hour lecture, the impossible confession, the moment the Ice Queen CEO blushed. Because sometimes the person who spends the most time telling you to take care of yourself is the person who has been quietly taking care of you all along. That's all for today. Remember to subscribe and support us.